Uh, Welcome to our topic of today, and we are going to talk about introduction to agriculture. That is the first topic, Form 1, in the syllabus coverage. Then agriculture initially was categorized into broad categories or branches. But long time ago, we find that people were gathering, people were hunting. At the same time, once they have gathered fruits, once they have hunted some of the animals, they could bring home to act as their food. That one went like that until there is something called domestication of animal, which came into existence. So once the domestication came into existence, then human beings could now go to the bush, hunt, and the animals that were fit for domestication were being brought home for further domestication at home. So what is this agriculture we are talking about? But before we look into the meaning of agriculture, then we have to ask ourselves, this agriculture, where did it came from? So we find that agriculture was derived in two Latin words. The first one is aga, and the second one is cultura. Correct. Now, if you combine the two, you will find that it makes the term agriculture. Agriculture, if you cut it from this particular point, you will have aga. Then the remaining one, the cultura. So aga means what? Field. And the cultura? Cultivation. Those are the two terms from Latin in which the term agriculture was derived from. Another thing, now we are going to the meaning. What is the meaning of agriculture? But based on the two terms that agriculture was derived from, then we are coming up with the field cultivation. Because aga means field and cultura means cultivation. So if you combine the two, the aga and the cultura, we have the field cultivation. So simple definition of agriculture simply means field cultivation. But we have a definition, a proven definition of agriculture. Can someone give me the definition? Yes?
Agriculture is a branch of science.
Yes?
Agriculture is an art
Yes?
of crop and
Yes? Agriculture is defined as an art and science of crop and livestock production. That is the real definition. An art and science of crop and animal production. Now, another definition of agriculture. We are coming up with different definition of agriculture. The first one we've seen is field cultivation. Based on the two terms agriculture was derived from. Then we are now coming up with another one, that agriculture is an art and science of crop and animal production. Now, we also have another definition of agriculture. You are not raising up your hand. Now, I can just give you that. That agriculture is rearing of animals and growing of crops. Those are just some of the definitions. But let us come back to the main definition. That is, agriculture is an art and science. So as an art, agriculture entails some of the following activities. Then as a science, also agriculture entails some of the activities. Now, what about as an art? What activities does agriculture entails as an art? Yes? We have the tilling of the land. Yes? Operation of farm machinery. Yes? We have the measuring distances. Yes? Feeding and handling of the animal. Yes?
Harvesting of crops.
Harvesting of crops. Then the last one? Construction of the farm structures. Those activities that you've highlighted makes agriculture to be referred to us as an art. Then as a science, it involves things done through scientific research. For instance, we are talking about crop pathology. We are talking about which one again? Yes? Entomology. Then soil science. Those particular factors or what you've stated, crop pathology, entomology, the soil science, makes agriculture to be referred to as a science. Now, agriculture being a general body, it is divided into branches. Agriculture being a general body is divided into branches. And we have branches of agriculture. We have branches of agriculture. We are looking at the branches of agriculture. Now, yes, we have branches. The first one, we have crop production. Remember when we were defining agriculture, we said agriculture is an art and science of crop and livestock production. So one of the branch here now comes to be the crop production. The second one, yes? Livestock production. Livestock production. Any other? Yes? We have the soil science. That's a branch of agriculture. Yes? Agricultural economics. Agricultural economics. Another branch? Yes? Agricultural engineering. Agricultural engineering. Agricultural engineering. There's one that is remaining. None. So these are the branches of agriculture. We have crop production, we have livestock production, we have soil science, we have agricultural economics, and we have agricultural engineering. Those are the branches of agriculture. It's just like a big tree. So the stem part of it is the agriculture. Main agriculture. But the branches are what forms the branches of agriculture. And as we have said, we have crop production, we have livestock production, we have soil science, we have agricultural economics, and finally we have agricultural engineering. Those are the branches of agriculture. Now, it will force us to start by looking at each one of them. Like in crop production. I want to refer you back to the definition of agriculture. An art and science of crop and livestock production. So in crop production, what does it entail? In crop production, what does it entail? So in this case, you will find that we have the field crops. We have the field crops. Again, you will also find the horticultural crops. The horticultural crops. Under this crop production, we have the field crops and the horticultural what? Horticultural crops. Field crops simply mean that these are crops grown in a fairly large area of land. Crops grown in a fairly large area of land. And they include the perennial and the annual crops. The perennial and the annual crops. The perennial crops include coffee, tea, cane. Meaning, in other terms, perennial crops are crops that take more than 1 year to be ready for harvesting. More than 1 year to be ready for harvesting. That is the perennial. Then we have the annual crops, which take less than 1 year to be ready for harvesting, like the beans. Then we go to the second part, which is the horticultural crops. Under the horticultural crop, this is again divided into 3. We have the pomology, we have the floriculture, and then we have the floriculture. Remember, we are still under the first branch of agriculture, that is crop production. So in the crop production, or the arable farming, or the crop farming, we divide this into 2. Field crops. In the field crops, we are saying these are crops grown in a fairly large area of land, but they are again divided into 2. The annual crops, which take less than 1 year to be ready for harvesting, and perennial crops, which take more than 1 year. An example is sugarcane. Then apart from that, we go to another, which is horticultural crops. These are perishable crops, like tomato, like the kales, which if you don't have good means of storage, they will actually rot and you will not use them. So the horticultural crops are further divided into 3 forms of horticulture. We talk about forms of horticulture. So we have pomology, we have floriculture, and then we have floriculture. What is pomology? Pomology? Yes.
This is the growing of fruits only.
Growing of fruits. Pomology. Growing of fruits. Maybe we are talking about fruit and some of you do not know even what fruits are. What are the fruits that we have? Yes? Mango. Avocado. Thank you. Now we are going to another form also known as floriculture. Floriculture. What's the definition? Yes? Growing of the vegetables. Growing of vegetables. Example of these vegetables. Maybe we'll be talking about vegetables. Irene? Yes? Cabbage. Anyone? Kales. Good. Oh, the sukuma wiki. Now, we also have the last one, the last form of horticultural crops known as floriculture. What is the meaning of floriculture? Yes? Growing of flowers. Growing of flowers. Growing of flowers. So, in simple terms, these that I've highlighted here are the forms of horticulture. The pomology, the floriculture, and the floriculture. We've looked at their meaning, and it is very important for you to understand, because in exam maybe you will be asked to give 3 forms of horticulture. So when you are asked to give the 3 forms, don't panic. Just say we have pomology, we have floriculture, and we have floriculture. And most importantly is to know the definition of each form of horticulture. Then we are done with the crop production as one branch of agriculture. We are going to the second one, which is livestock production, and that by the end of that will mark the end of our lesson today. Now, in livestock production, as we had seen in crop production, we also have some forms here. Then we have the pastoralism. You look, those people in northeastern part, they walk with their animal from one point to another in search of fresh water and pasture. Then we also have fish farming, or the aquaculture is a form of livestock production. Then we also have beekeeping. Apart from beekeeping, we also have poultry keeping. Those are some of the forms of livestock farming. We deal with now animals. The livestock, maybe you can talk about them as animals. So we have pastoralism, whereby you walk with animals from one point to another to look for fresh water and pasture. Then we go to fish farming. This is the rearing of fish in structures called the fish pond. So you can rear the fish for maybe, as you know, fish is a source of protein, sindio? Yes. Ukikula vizuri, then you will have more proteins in you. Then again, we have beekeeping. You know, we process bee for honey, we have the bee wax. That are very important. The honey, we use it for various purposes. Then we have poultry keeping. The poultry here include the chicken, the turkey, the geese, and the ostriches. Those one falls under livestock production as a branch of agriculture. Then we have agricultural engineering and agricultural economics. Once you all have these resources, you need to know how to manage them. That one brings us into agricultural economics, which simply means this is a branch that deals with the utilization of scarce resources. We have scarce resources. If you don't manage them well, they will not produce what you expected. So you have to manage the resources that you are having, be it land, be it money that you are having. Then agricultural engineering is how to maintain the farm tools and machineries or the structures. If you want to rear fish, you will build the fish pond. You need knowledge that will make you maintain that particular structure. So those ones form the branches of agriculture. In simple terms, today we've seen that agriculture is just a whole body. And the term was derived from two Latin words, the ager and the cultura. The ager means field, the cultura means cultivation. If you combine the two terms, you will come up with a simple definition of field cultivation. Then if you're defining agriculture, we are simply saying agriculture is an art and science of crop and livestock production. Again, another definition of agriculture that you can put in place, you can also say agriculture is the act of rearing animals and growing of crops. Like other subjects, agriculture too have branches, and we have 5 branches of agriculture: crop production, livestock production, soil science, agricultural economics, and agricultural engineering. In crop production, it is again further subdivided into 2. We have field crops, which contain the annual crops and the perennial crops. Then in horticultural crops, we also have other forms known as pomology, olericulture, and floriculture. Away from that, we also need to look at how we are going to use these scarce resources that we are having to get maximum output. And that brings us to be talking about agricultural economics. Then again, we are having agricultural engineering. We have structures. We need to maintain them. By the help of agricultural engineering, we will maintain the structures that we are having and also deal with the farm tools and equipment. And that marks the end of our lesson today. Thank you.